so we can have this recorded. In case you have questions in the future, you can refer back to it. Anna and Richard are your chairs and co-chair today, and are going to discuss or lead this meeting. Because we're a small group, what we're going to do is just wait till there's a pause in the conversation and you can just unmute yourself and talk. You can also, I'll be monitoring the chat box if you'd rather ask your question through chat or say, hey, I'd like to say something. You can put that in the chat box as well, or raise your hand. So any of and all are available to you. Okay, Richard and Anna, I am muting.
Okay, well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Southern Regional Cooperative Soil Survey Interpretations Committee meeting. It's unfortunate we were unable to meet in person, but I think we're all kind of getting used to this. So anyway, we'll proceed forward and try to come up with some charges to take to the business meeting. That is our to-do on our to-do list for today. So I guess Anna, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. I run a lab called Delta Urban Soils Lab. So if you have any samples that you would like to test, especially for heavy metals on a much less expensive equipment than ICP-MS, then please send it my way. I do research on heavy metals in urban soils. That's my main area of expertise. And been collaborating with the NRCS in the past in the Northeast, and now with the folks down in Louisiana. I can see a couple of them, Mitchell and Brendan, who would teach soil classes. So they've been helping a lot with teaching those classes as well. And it's my first time in South Carolina. I'm really happy to be here. I wish I met every one of you here, but hopefully next time you will come to Louisiana. We will host you there.
Thank you, Anna. So I think we've got, I'm looking at the participant list here. We got quite a few folks on. That's good. My name is Richard Reed. I'm a regional resource soil scientist in Fort Worth at the Central National Technology Support Center under Science and Technology. I work very closely with SSRA and SPSD and work on soil interpretations and hydric soils quite a bit. Anyway, do we want to, let's see, do we want to do a little introduction for everybody? Anna? What do you think?
Yeah, sure. I think so. In case.
Is there somebody new on the line?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Rebecca, you're first on the list. You mind giving us a little, just introducing yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
Good morning. I'm Rebecca Fox. I'm Assistant State Soil Scientist for Arkansas NRCS.
Thanks, Rebecca. Bob.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Bob Dovis. I work at the National Soil Survey Center. I work with Rich and Kathy Seibold, and I work on, have any questions about interpretations, or if something doesn't work or doesn't look right, give me a call and I'll figure out what's going wrong. Thank you.
Let's see who else is on. Dee.
Good morning. I'm Dee Peterson. I'm the Assistant State Soil Scientist in Georgia, and I've chaired this committee on the NRCS side a couple of times, and interpretations are, some of you know, they're very near and dear to my heart. So here I am.
What would we do without you? By the way, in case anybody's wondering, Dee has been a huge help in putting all this together and helping me figure out pathways to success. Dee.
Here, Rich. Good job.
Let's see who else we have. Christine, let's see, you're on. She must be muted. We'll move on. Mitch. You there, Mitch? Can you hear us? You must be on mute too. We'll move on to the next one. Brandon Waltman.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Brandon Waltman. I am the resource soil scientist in South Louisiana. Glad to be here.
Thanks, Brandon. Kathy.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm Kathy Seibel, soil scientist, and I'm located at the National Soil Survey Center on the same staff with Bob Dobos. That's it.
Thanks, Kathy. Roy, did you want to introduce yourself?
Certainly, Richard. I'm Roy Vick. I'm Associate Director for Operations with NRCS Soil and Plant Science Division and National Headquarters. And I've been sitting in on as many of these as I can to learn and contribute if I can.
Thank you, Roy.
Hey, Rich.
Sure.
Hey, Mitch just texted me. He said he's driving right now and he's listening, but his microphone's not working. So he's there.
Gotcha. Yeah, we definitely don't want him messing with his cell phone if he's driving. So no problem. No problem. Mitch is the state soil scientist of Louisiana, newly appointed state soil scientist Louisiana. So I work with Mitch quite a bit, and I'm glad that he could be listening in. So okay. We may have a few more trickle in. I had invited Randy Riddle to attend. I don't know if he's on. I don't see his name. Yeah, I don't see him on here yet, but I think he's planning on attending as well. So anyway, I'm glad everybody could join us today and participate in the committee meeting. I'm going to share my agenda. Hopefully y'all can see that.
Yep.
Can see it?
Yes.
We're good. Okay, very good. Okay, so the first thing that I think we wanted to go over today is just kind of what our to-do list looks like, what we need to accomplish. We have a lot of stuff on the agenda for today. I don't know how much time we're going to end up taking, but I suspect it'll be a full hour, if not a little bit more. So we'll try to get through the to-do items first, and then we'll go to previous charges, and then we'll roll on through new business and all that kind of stuff. So, okay. So what is it that we are trying to accomplish today? So we want to give you a synopsis on the pre-conference meeting minutes, that the two pre-conference committee meetings that we had for interpretations. So we'll talk about what we discussed on each one of those. We'll talk about charges from previous meetings, if we want to carry those forward or table those, new proposals or new business. We'll ask for some clarification on a few proposals, and then we'll either table or move those forward to the business meeting. And then, you know, any more discussion that anybody wants to bring up while we're meeting today. And then lastly, we'll try to cover current nominated chairs and co-chairs. And if I mess that part up, then let me know. Somebody. Okay, so I guess the first thing on the list is the synopsis of discussion, both in the pre-meetings and at the conference. So we'll go through the previous meetings very quickly and just talk about what we discussed. So here is The March 17th interpretations pre-conference meeting. We had pretty good attendance from the committee members. Anna talked about, she gave a really good overview of the bylaws. Again, our action items, our to-do list, what it is that we are here to do. We read the definition of the interpretations committee. Bob gave a really good background, sorry, on the newer Pangea interpretations, some of the brand new interpretations that have been developed, modifications of existing interpretations, some new ideas, national projects that he is working on. What else? And then Anna just brought up the topic of urban soils and heavy metals being a priority for ongoing interpretive work, which I agree with. And we had somebody bring up an attendee. I can't remember who it is, but if somebody on the committee remembers, let me know. Brought up hydric soils and the impacts of climate expansion and climate extreme expansion and retraction on redoxymorphic feature formation. Not sure if where that belongs, but anyway, somebody brought that up. We'll talk about that here in a minute. So that was the first meeting. So then, let's see here. I gotta find the right one. Here we go. Nope, that's not it. Okay, so then we had our second pre-conference meeting, and I went back through, instead of going through the bylaws, I went through some of the to-do items that Joe had sent out to us, which were very helpful, actually, kind of guide our work, which is the same things that I have on the agenda for today that we just discussed. So I went through that briefly, and then we jumped right into previous committee charges and where we were at on each one of those charges. And so I'm a visual kind of person, so I sort of colored these in a way that I think is intuitive anyway. Green sort of means that it's been addressed, or it's being addressed currently with some sort of detail or background work or whatever. And so the yellow sort of indicates that it's still maybe pending, and Bob can correct any of this if it's not accurate. So this table will influence what we end up putting on the poll that we're going to send out here in a little bit in this meeting for the committee members to vote on. Well, actually, everybody can vote on it. And so if it's not right, we need to get it right. So that we went through the previous meeting charges and progress, and then we talked about new proposed business. And we'll go through all this in more detail here in just a second, but lots of new ideas. No problem, Christine. Lots of new ideas, as you can see from this list. I'll go through each one line by line here in a second when we get back to our agenda, but there were a lot of really good ideas. So I basically just carried over those ideas onto today's agenda. So we'll talk about all that stuff. We went through all that. Current progress on the conservation practice screening tools. And then the only other thing we covered in the May pre-conference meeting that we're not going to discuss in a lot of detail today are new interpretations that are ready for testing. So there's a number of new interpretations, and I invite everybody to take a look at these on the testing site. You're all honorary members of the testing team now, so congratulations. But we welcome your feedback. If you have feedback on any of these interpretations, you can contact myself or Bob Dobos or myself or any of the committee members. And then we have a new subaqueous soil interpretations testing website. I've pasted that in the chat as well. Shortleaf pine productivity is another new interpretation that is ready for testing, I suppose, and feedback. I know Bob's been working on a ground nesting bees soil substrate interpretation. Not sure where that one's at, but I assume it'll be on the testing site when it's ready for testing. Also, we've been working on 2 PFAS movement in soils and attenuation, and a sort of a PFAS movement in the environment, soil environment interpretation as well. So I'm not sure, those still need some work and some refinement. The science still needs to be investigated further on that one. And then there's a number of conservation practice standard screening tools that are being worked on or finished currently. And I think this is the list of the ones that have been finished. And this high tunnel system, I think I sent that to you yesterday, Bob. That one Debbie has done for her state and likely could be maybe adopted or modified and adopted or refined or whatever and used in a wider geographic scope. So that's the newest one that I know of that could be adopted for the South region. So anyway, we will vote on these conservation practice standard screening tools here pretty soon. The only other, so we didn't talk about coastal zone or subaqueous soil interpretations much in the May meeting. I don't know that we even know that we mentioned them. But I do have in today's agenda, we will go through some of the interpretations and the progress of each one of those interpretations. So that was the May meeting. Okay. So the first thing on the list of items to do for today is to go through the previous committee charges and make sure that we have this correct. So as far as I know, and I'm going to need some input probably from Bob, Kathy, and others who have knowledge. Do these items that are in green, have those been addressed? And hopefully you can see them. There's a current detail right now to address interpretation documentation. I know that. The interpretations focus team has been, in my opinion, well established since the last regional conference. There's been considerable amount of work getting that team put together, establishing a Teams channel. We have the testing website. We've been very busy. Bob Dobos has done a really good job getting that off the ground and running. The regional commodity crop productivity index. I think, Bob, you're currently working on some of those for tropical regions.
Yes, that's correct.
Right? Okay. And then coastal zone soil survey interpretations are being actively worked on and developed. We can continue to identify that as a priority if we want to, but they're currently ongoing, and there's ongoing work continuously on that. So, and then the irrigated NCCPI, Dee can tell you all about that. She's doing a detail right now ongoing to work on irrigated NCCPI. And I think the rest of these that are yellow are were either tabled at the last meeting or no work has been done. Does that sound right, Bob?
Well, There's somebody in Texas supposed to be working on that cotton one, so we're not going to mention any names. And we are tinkering some, trying to negotiate with urban folks in order for the liquefaction in the urban environment. Problem there is that we don't have any substrate data, parent material data. If we had that, then we could make predictions of liquefaction hazard in urban areas. So hopefully they're going to work with that. The hydrologic soil group, I don't even want to talk about. And we had a thing set up to try to get the rock fragment data taken care of, but that got kind of, well, I don't know exactly what happened there, but I'm gonna push that forward. I'm glad you put that on the list there, Rich, so I can put it on my whiteboard so I can keep it in my memory. I'll work on it some, get it done before the refresh here.
So keep these items in yellow, at least the ones that we want to move forward to the next meeting. We're gonna have to take a vote on. So keep those in the back of your mind. And when we bring this poll up here in a minute, I'm gonna get everyone on the call to help me modify this poll so that we can take a vote. That's really why we're here. So. Okay, so that takes care of previous charges and where we're at on those. I think we'll bring the poll up here in a minute, and we'll add or subtract anything we want to take down or add to it with everyone's input, and then we'll take a vote. Okay, new business. So Anna had made the proposal in the first pre-conference meeting that we really needed to prioritize urban soils and heavy metals for ongoing interpretive work. And so I was reading back through the previous minutes, which Dee supplied. Thank you, Dee, by the way. And I noticed that there was a lot of conversation about urban soils. And so I thought I would familiarize myself with the conversations that took place at the previous conference and sort of try to bring that forward and see where we're at. So I'll just read this, I guess. Randy Riddle discussed the need for regional interpretations related to urban issues. Urban issues are variable and cities were developed differently, which complicates the development of national interpretations. Some resampling of old data sets shows declining concentrations of lead, leading to the hypothesis this loss is related to erosion of urban soils. So urban soil erosion, that's an interesting topic. Urban land map units and complexes often are not rated. This usually depends on survey vintage, but as a miscellaneous area, urban land is not rated by interpretations. Then there's this other topic that they snuck in here. Impervious surfaces are important for stormwater management. By the way, this impervious surface topic was mentioned in several other committee meetings that I sat in on this week. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. That seems to be a pretty hot topic too for urban soil component mapping, let's call it. Manuel suggested reviewing this urban water assessment project, which included sampling in Puerto Rico, I'm assuming for impervious surfaces. Let's see. And then artifacts, which we have on the list of items to pull forward, are not considered along with fragments and interpretations. In the NYC soil survey, artifact and fragment percentages were combined in the fragment tables. Some more accurate interpretive ratings result. Bob said updating interpretations to include artifacts is possible, just time consuming, staffing is limited. And then also a request to have substrate identified so liquefaction can be updated, which is also on the list of previous charges, or previously voted on items, I should say. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it on urban soils. Has Randy made it on? Just Anna, did you have anything to add related to urban or heavy metal soils in urban areas?
I was wondering if actually you know how to prove that there was urban erosion, urban soil erosion. Because what the Duke University said Wednesday, I know also in New Orleans, Dr. Milky, Howard Milky, he did his research on the heavy metals in soil and blood lead levels in children. And he did studies of soil survey lead before Katrina and after Katrina, and they found the decline. But originally they thought there was a decline because of Katrina flooding. But when they tested flooded areas versus not flooded areas, there was no difference. And they have like thousands of samples. So I just wonder how it can be done, how we prove that it was an erosion. So there's definitely something to discuss on this topic, and there's a decline, and it's interesting for sure.
I think with our current administrative priorities, I think that urban soil interpretations, and certainly with the metrics on soil data and soil interpretation usage in Web Soil Survey, I certainly think that urban interpretations are important and need to be a priority. So I know my vote will probably lean heavy towards urban interpretations and getting those urban soil components populated with some more data.
And how can it be incorporated into soil survey, like web soil survey? You know, the heavy metals, for example. Will it be an additional tab in on the website and in the app, or app is UC Davis, right? So you're not doing it, but I think it's because I collected, so Mitchell and Brendan, Gavin gave me some samples from the surveys, and I have some heavy metal data that I still need to share with them per horizon, heavy metals, right? So I have this data in Excel form. So how do I, in what format I need to give it to USDA, and how it will be incorporated in the database? And like it will also inform researchers how to collect the data and present it so they can, follow the same format.
I think that data could certainly be used to help model how heavy metal accumulation is impacted by soil properties. Certainly. That's actually one of the, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, just so you think it can be, can it be it's like an additional tab or something, or a table that will people can access, or it will be linked? Like, how is it going to look on the web soil survey?
You're talking about heavy metals?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know that we can put, oh man, that's a tough one, that we could put site specific data on there, but we could use site specific data to inform interpretive models that look at heavy metal accumulation or movement in soils. Does anybody else have any ideas on heavy metal and how that could be incorporated onto Web Soil Survey?
I guess because it hasn't been determined on so many map units, that's the problem with putting it up. But I like the idea if we could come up with some type of model that, based on data that exists, that would show potential for what's the potential to have a heavy metal dependent on the past use of that area. But I guess that you'd have to need to fund some type of meta-analysis in order to get that model put together. would be my guess.
I have a question for Anna. I think this is D. Do y'all have like full characterization data in addition to, like, did you send samples to the lab? Because maybe if you did, then the heavy metal stuff would be incorporated with some sort of supplemental data, and then it would be attached to the KSSL, and that would be your point data.
Well, the one that I'm referring to, that, yes. So Louisiana, Lafayette, USDA, they did, and I can say specifically what they did, but it basically standard the soil survey. And those were like natural soils, but we can do urban soils in Lafayette too, or anyway, really. So it actually has a standard description of the soil patterns with all the things you typically put in a, in the surveys. So they gave me this data, and I have samples. I measured it with the X-ray, with X-ray fluorescent analyzer, and heavy metals for each of those horizons that they provided. So we have soil properties for those horizons and metal data.
But the soil properties just from a pedon description or from lab data that was?
Just for pedon description, yes.
Okay. I was just thinking it might have been easier to incorporate if you had lab data that would be posted. So anyway,
we can do additional. I might have I don't remember if we did pH and stuff, but we can do some some properties in my lab, but I don't know if we can do all properties in the lab.
Yeah. Hey, this is Mitchell. I mean, I think, yeah, Anna and Brandon and I, we've collaborated a bit. I think it would be good in the future to try and collect, characterization data. That wouldn't be anything we're opposed to. So definitely opportunity for us, especially since Anna's right down the road. So.
Hi all, this is Dara. I just wanted to bring your attention to the chat. Christine is on headphones, but for some reason her mic's not working, so she's been chatting some questions and statements in there regarding kind of like what you both have been talking about, really, just using, making sure you have a suite of data that we can see if we can correlate for potential heavy metal retention. Maybe the first step is to identify what those soil properties that would mostly influence heavy metal retention would be. And so you're not doing everything under the sun for our analysis. And then seeing if we have some of that data already with other profiles too throughout the region. And then seeing if we can do some meta-analysis and modeling. I think I could probably get a statistician, if needed, working on this if we can find some funding to help Anna and whoever else on this. Maybe grad student or something, I don't know.
I noted that in the meeting minutes, Dara, that you offered your help.
I offered to see if I could get a statistician.
I'm just joking.
But I do. I have been so impressed with the statisticians I've worked with at Clemson. So I'm sure at least one of them would jump onto this. I hope.
Yeah. So I think this is a good union between heavy metal analysis on traditional, soil TSS projects or just even traditional update projects, and then taking that information and analyzing it and using statistics and figuring out what's just like Christine mentioned in the chat, which I think she's spot on, mentioning exactly what properties affect retention, and then developing that model. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Anna.
They also USGS, they have maps and data databases for geogenic metals. They have on their websites practically for most elements in on the periodic table, they have a map for topsoil, like subsoil, and somewhere like A, B, and C horizons, basically. So maybe if we can get a hand on that database as well, it can be incorporated here to see, you know, what's the geogenic versus anthropogenic and also natural properties of the soil. So like there's a lot of components can go into here to have a better model.
Yeah, and this ties in really well with this. Yes, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna introduce it. This Artisol discussion or this edition of you know, a new taxonomic order. You know, once that's established and you can sort of start to classify soils based on development and anthropogenic influence and all that will allow us to be able to query soils based on that and link this heavy metal data to that and sort of get at, maybe it'll help us get at soil retention by taxonomic order or class or something to that effect. I don't know, just thinking ahead. Okay, I see. Yeah, Christine says she'd love to develop a project with Lawrence Clemson to sample around Greenville. Cool.
I don't mind to come back. I really like it here, so.
Yeah, you need solid data from which to develop that model. I agree, D, 100%. Without a pretty robust library, it's going to be hard to test it. So, as we know from the NCCPI data or NCCPI model. So, yeah.
Yeah, I already told Anna that I will host her at Clemson. We'll have a seminar so she can meet some other faculty too if she comes back during like a spring or fall semester. Right now, no one's at campus. So, and I'll definitely invite you guys as well, remotely or in person. Come.
Okay, so yeah, this has been a really good discussion on urban soils. I was really hoping Randy would be on so he could shine some light, but I guess he was unable to make it. So that, I guess that we can move on to the next item, which is microplastics. Anna, you want to talk a little bit about that since you're the one that suggested
brought it up. So microplastic is another emerging research topic. For, I don't know, last several years people are working on it, but it's really difficult to determine microplastics in soil because they're, you know, they may look like rocks, or if they're very small, they hard to determine. In water quality, I think they dye them and it's easier for them to determine, but in soil is really complicated. So there are not many like set methods how to sample and how to analyze it. This work in progress on this, but there's more and more microplastics in the soil and nanoplastics that also go into plants and crops. And there's a controversial research articles that I found, like I read a review paper that basically highlights positive and negative aspects of microplastics in soil. And sometimes they do say, you know, some good things like porosity is increasing and like roots can grow through, but sometimes it's the opposite. Depending on the shape of a microplastic and what it's made of, it may not form help aggregate and it does not combine with like organic matter and affects root growth. So there's lots of potential for research, and I think it was also on the research priority committee meeting they brought it up. But once we figure out how we can incorporate heavy metals into the database, maybe we can find out how to add microplastic after that, and if there is also retention. You know, if the soils retain more microplastics or less, certain type of soils, and how distributed the soil profiles. So there's a lot of unknown answers when it comes to microplastics, but it's a new research direction, and I think we should also pay attention to it because it will affect the soil properties.
Yeah, so I was, after Anna suggested this in our, I think it might have been our first meeting or second, I can't remember. I did a little research on it, and I was thinking about it and trying to figure out how we could develop soil interpretations that would incorporate microplastics. And I think, as Anna suggested, it's an emerging, research topic. And I think that this concept needs to be escalated to the research committee, because I think that additional research is needed before we can really understand the full effects that it has, and how it interacts with the soil chemical and physical properties. So I don't know, if we can do any definitive soil interpretation work with microplastics at this point, unless somebody else knows more than I do. But I do think it needs to be a priority on the research committee. So I think we can, I can bring that up at the business meeting maybe. Does that sound plausible?
That sounds like a pretty good idea to me, Rich. This is Dee.
Thank you, Dee. My typing is slow today. Okay, and then next on the list, we had this idea about this hydric soils and this climate expansion retraction on redoxomorphic features. I'm not sure. I was seeking to get some clarification on this proposal from the person that suggested it. Does any of the committee members that were in that meeting, does anybody remember who suggested that? I think it might have been Dr. Griffin, maybe.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I know you're right that it was talked, and they did specifically say the Sharkey series.
I don't recall.
I don't either. I'm drawing a blank. I'm sorry.
And without getting some more clarification on it, I don't know that we can bring it forward for consideration. I'm not even sure that it applies necessarily to soil interpretation. I think it's an interesting topic for sure. Maybe on the research side, or coastal zone, or hydric soils.
I think it was brought up in the hydric soils and the research priorities, if I remember correctly. But honestly, I've been to so many meetings the past 2 days, I don't remember which was which. So one thing that I am going to do is send an email out to all the chairs and co-chairs today, to give them a little bit more guidance on what to prepare for tomorrow. But I'm going to see, I know it's a quick turnaround time, if I can get top priorities from each committee, because what I have noticed in attending all of them is there's a lot of overlap.
Yes.
And that may help you refine which ones you want to put on top. Because if you have a cohesive topic that is spanning all the different committees that you really want to drive to nationals for approval to work on and for funding, I think you'll have a better chance at getting it. So look for that, hopefully, in your email box soon, and tomorrow to see a table.
Yeah, I agree. I just came across, it's funny you mentioned that, Dara. I came across a topic yesterday that came across email, and more research on seepage soil seepage characteristics on burial. There's perhaps needs to be some more research done in that area too, and that could be a research priority. And that's that's a big one, because as most of the people on this call know, every time we have some type of catastrophic event or hurricane, tornado, COVID, oversupply, highly pathogenic avian influenza, any of that stuff, then we run into this situation where everybody's quickly wants to know all these different things about seepage or about burial or whatever. And there's not, to my knowledge, there's not a ton of information out there about seepage characteristics. There's some research, but I think that's an area for the research committee that I'd like to mention to them. So anyway. Okay, so I think we can table that topic for this committee. Does everybody agree with that? Does that sound okay? I don't want to take anybody's ideas away.
Yeah, I think we just need to get more information on it and we can move on. And I think, it wouldn't hurt to put unless you have this somewhere else, and I'm just missing it, another bullet about the seepage issue, that just so that you know that we talked about it today and that we want to look into it more.
Yeah, I will definitely mention that in the business meeting for sure. It's on the back of my brain with a million other things, so I'll try to remember. But if you do send out a poll or something to us, Dara, I'll try to throw it in there. Okay, we have I did have a question for Bob and Kathy. Do you guys know of any national effort to put together a heavy metal? Because if we put this up for a vote, I don't want to put it up for a vote if there's already work, being done on it. So do you know of any heavy metal retention or accumulation interpretations that have been worked on?
This is Dobus out here. I don't know of anything for other than, I know they did some with naturally occurring selenium, I think, around in Colorado. I know there's not anything current, at least not in the part of the database that I work with. The agency has kind of subject for the agency, because it's almost like PII. We don't necessarily publish. Well, it's available, but it's not really easily gotten to. I know that Mike Wilson, when he was at the center, I'm pretty sure he marshaled together a heavy metal, at least a geochemistry database out of the Kellogg Soil Survey Laboratory. And that's out there somewhere, but no, we don't. We've historically kind of steered away from heavy metals simply because there's liability issues and safety issues and all kinds of issues that an agency that tries to wear the white hat doesn't want to pick up.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it sounds like we could maybe move forward on voting on some future work on developing an interpretation, maybe.
Now, certainly, the presence or absence of heavy metals is important for urban agriculture. See that, and so, and if you have a preponderance or accumulation of heavy metals, then you need to do something different for your urban agriculture, either ameliorate or.
This may be a crazy question, but I honestly don't know the answer because I'm not an expert at heavy metals. But do all heavy metals bioaccumulate in, or do they bioaccumulate? Period.
In plants or in people?
Well, in plants.
it depends on the different plants. Some plants take it, some of them don't. Like carrots, they do. They take them into pores. So peeling only reduces, but does not completely get rid of heavy metals. Radish or potatoes you can peel, so it stays on the peel, and so it's really accumulates in different parts of plants. And the fruit vegetables, they're safer to grow in contaminated soil than root vegetables or leafy greens because it gets splashes from surrounding areas. Also, this problem exists in agriculture fields or formal orchards because of past pesticide used. My study site in New Jersey was Duke Farm, and they added lead arsenate pesticides to their fields. And then they were excavating and dumping another side of the property, and it was not the solution. That we did our study there. Eventually, we suggested to do compost because it was easier than amendments. But it's like, and then also former agricultural fields like Ithaca, for example, is growing in New York, and they build residential homes on the former agricultural land. So there's a lot of it everywhere, just not necessarily tested in agriculture fields, I think, because it's mostly nutrients and stuff.
Is there generally a more accumulation in vegetable crops that grow underground than vegetable crops that grow?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense. So that's interesting. So we could maybe move that topic forward. I think I've got it in there. Okay, so moving forward, we did have one suggestion for a semi-subaqueous soil coastal zone soil survey interpretation. And I did some checking on the latest list, which I'll go through here in a minute. We got a lot of stuff to cover yet. And that was potential for acid sulfate soils. There is an interpretation that has been developed on the coastal zone soil survey interps, the most recent list that I have from Maggie and Debbie. And that is land utilization of dredged materials. And it's not quite the same, but that sort of gets at soils that are prone to acid sulfate. So sorry, I'm reading the chat. So anyway, this one has already been developed, so I think we can what I'm thinking is we'll take a vote on whether we want to prioritize urban soil interpretations. I don't know that we need to vote on this specific interpretation because I think it's already kind of been worked on a little bit. Does anybody have any input on that particular interpretation at all?
I know, I think you're right. I think a couple other committees did discuss it, but I think maybe if we could not rank all these, but maybe come up with top 3 or top 5 that are most important to move forward on. And then just say the other ones are, we recognize as important and eventually we'll get to. This might be one of those.
Sure. Bob, did you have something to add?
Well, I just wanted to say that the trick with acid sulfate soils is you have to have somewhere in the database a knowledge of which soils have like pyrite or pyritic materials, something that can oxidize when it comes in contact with atmospheric, oxygen. Some bacteria too, probably. But that data is not really all that well populated because there's not really a place to populate it. So it would be tricky to get that put into the database because they'd have to know, and it have to be in the parent material table or someplace to be able to pick it up. But it is more and more of a problem, because if we're trying to preserve prime agricultural land, which is generally kind of level, we push development up into the hills, we start using big machinery to dig down deeper in the soil, we're going to catch places that have heretofore not been oxidized, expose periodic materials, and cause problems with basically acid mine drainage, whether we mined or not. So, I mean, that's kind of, we'd have to have some cooperation with the regional soil survey office people to get that kind of information assembled.
This might be also get wrapped up a little bit into, again, this overarching idea of urban soil interps. I know we have developments on the coast that have been drained and have put in 4-inch diameter oak trees, 200 of them that have failed because they're putting them on acid sulfate clays that have been drained. So, I mean, and we see this on golf courses on the coast as well, and in other new developments. So this could be thought of as an emerging urban population, or emerging urban problem as well. So maybe not just dredged, but drained, coastal drained materials.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm reading the chat. I'm trying to read that, take notes, and it's a lot. Anyway, let's see. Trying to catch all of them if I can. If I miss anybody, just please speak up. Let's see. Dee mentioned that uptake of heavy metals by other plants, not just ag, like marsh sediments in the Northeast, present opportunities for bioremediation. And also that metals can accumulate in fish and potentially the people who eat those fish. I never even thought about that, but that's a great point. Which honestly, that sort of provides more support for these subaqueous soil interpretations for like ecological habitat, like eelgrass and things like that, eelgrass soil suitability. And that sort of fosters restoration activities, which can be beneficial for remediation. So that's a really great point, Dee. And Bob says, data on reduced materials must be available somewhere to draw or infer from. Yeah, so that, I think I got that in the notes. That chemical data in the soils database has to be there in order for us to draw from it. So mercury in fish is a huge problem. Yeah, mercury in fish. Yeah, we have that down here in Texas as well, in some of the rivers. And actually, a lot of that's from urban contamination. So at least that I know of. Okay, so yeah, we'll talk more about this, but that may be one that we can table, because that one may not. First of all, there's already been a soil interpretation that's been developed for land utilization of dredged materials, and as Bob points out, it's a really difficult one to get at. So we have this next topic on here: nitrate leaching potential. I just put this in here about nutrient runoff. There's current work being done on nutrient runoff. I know there's been some interpretations developed for nitrate leaching. for certain areas of the country. I'm not sure if we have something, nationwide. Is that one that we want to bring up for a vote, Bob, you think, or is that one that we should maybe table?
Well, there's certainly a lot of interest in nitrate leaching and other nutrient movement. And so I think we could at least start to entertain something. And I know there's nitrate leaching interpretations that Steve Campbell has put forth for the Pacific Northwest that I have to look through there and see what kind of magic he did. It might be adaptable on a nationwide scale.
I saw Steve was on this. He was on this meeting for a little while. Oh, I see Randy's on. Good. Yeah, I see Steve was on here a while. I wish he was still on. He could maybe give an update on that. But anyway, yeah, like Bob, I think Steve has developed some interpretations up for that part of the country, and they're likely pretty good interpretations. So yeah, that may be something we want to consider. Okay. All right. We'll bring that one forward then. This was proposed, Rebecca, I think, proposed this for Arkansas, this suitability for land leveling for rice production. Rebecca, did you want to give any more background on that, or?
I talked to Edgar about it this morning, and he was saying that he thought a few years ago some work might have been done to try and develop one of these. So I don't know, by Nelson and Rachel. And he also gave me a list of limitations that we'd be looking for on this. So high sodium, high sand content, high clay content, low pH, and aluminum toxicity. So because I guess I would want to change the name on it to just say suitability of land leveling in Arkansas, because the aluminum toxicity would be for soybeans. And I think for this, Edgar said there's no big rush on this one. This would just be a nice tool to have for our conservation planners. We've run into them approving land leveling on some really sandy soils, and so that that doesn't really do anything for the landowner. But it's not like we have a big emergency push or anything.
And in Louisiana, we'd be in support of that too, since we do a good bit of land leveling as well. So
You beat me to it, Mitch. I was just fixing to ask if there were any other states that had an interest in this, because when I first saw this, I thought, well, this isn't kind of an Arkansas centric thing. Maybe I could just work with Arkansas and develop this and for their needs, So I was going to ask if there were other states, but you beat me to it. South Carolina too. So apparently there is more interest in this. That's good. Okay. Mississippi. Yeah. Okay. That tells me everything I need to know. Let's see. Moving on to the next. Thank you, Rebecca. I appreciate it. On to the next one. Land smoothing. Is this? Well, it looks like you're up again. Is this the same interpretation or something different?
I can tell you that it's not the same interpretation, because in a class, we actually developed the criteria for land smoothing. And you just think of the hilly kind of a land surface that's smoothed, rather than a land surface that's been folded, spindled, and mutilated and flattened, like you would do for your flattening or leveling for irrigation, or pond or flooding for rice or something like that. So you think of land leveling is land that is level, and, flat and smooth, rather than just land that might be rolling but is smooth.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Sure.
There's a subtle difference.
That's new to me. I didn't know that. So thank you.
And they're both conservation practice standards, so it'd be handy to have in our pocket.
Oh, that's good to know too.
So, yeah, we'll talk more about how things work in the modern era. Say the post-interpretation staff era. That's something to put in your pipe and think about for a while.
Say that again, Bob.
The post-interpretations staff era. Portent that has implications for all of us, really. But it's a good thing in some respects.
And this land smoothing, I'm assuming was not just for Arkansas. This is for many states, right? That could almost be a national.
It is a national thing.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, we had a couple proposals from Alabama for white oak soil suitability. Sorry, I'm watching the time. And septic tanks. I was hoping Chris would be on. I don't see that he's on. I needed some more clarification on this septic tank one. The white oak soil suitability. Are there any other states that would have interest in this white oak soil suitability interpretation?
I think, Dobus again here, that white oak suitability would be of interest, in a pretty large geographic area, because white oaks grow over quite a bit of the country, and they're a valuable hardwood for timber. So I think that might have interest for broad scale.
So I'm
I am
wondering
personally interested in hardwoods, particularly white oak. But so yeah, Bob's right. You don't need to put that in there, Rich. That's just
okay. All right. Okay, I'm just writing it all down, just taking notes.
Beautiful tree, beautiful tree.
So I have a second then, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but not a monoculture. See, I'm not, it's got to have other hardwoods planted in there with it. So
It's all about the diversity, isn't it? It's about equity in forest practices.
Well, you want your gypsy moth caterpillars to have a balanced diet, so they can't just eat.
That's it, Bob.
I guess you still have gypsy moth caterpillars out there. I've been out in Nebraska so long, I haven't seen a gypsy moth caterpillar in decades.
That's funny. Forest stand equity. So this could go in with the forestry suite of interpretations then, I guess. Trying to decide how we want to articulate that vote. If we want to vote just to prioritize forest interpretations in general, or specific forest interpretations, because I've got another one down here on the list a little bit further that I wanted to also take a vote on as well, that I added to the list.
Richard, what's on the web soil survey right now? I mean, isn't there something about forest practices, forestry, and if the soils are...
There's productivity in there, but I'll tell you, there's not a whole lot of forestry data, at least in this part of the world. There's not a whole lot of consistent forestry data for hardwood species. White oak's probably one of the most common ones that we do have site index numbers for, but not very good. And most people are interested in those commercial pine species too. So as y'all will be involved in, I think, a project in the coming year or two.
Well then, someone kind of from the outside looking in, would it make sense that maybe that whole section needs just to be looked at and reviewed and see what needs to be potentially added?
Well, we've kind of done that. We kind of have a pretty good idea already of.
Okay.
Of course, we get new ideas all the time. Ideas that we maybe didn't have on the list before, like shortleaf and longleaf, which are not hardwoods. But I think we already have a pretty good idea. I know we were talking about it back when Maxine was still here, on forestry interpretations, and those new interpretations needed, existing interpretations have been worked on, and all that. So it's definitely on the on the list of to-do items. It's a matter of getting the interpretations focus team charged up to take on or tackle some of those tasks, right, Bob?
That is correct. Yeah, talk about that maybe someday, how, you know, took a season of being able to pry people loose and give them things to do other than their typical job things.
Patrick Heisel, who was co-chair for the Soil and Ecosystem Dynamics committee, is in forestry and might be of some assistance on this.
Who is that, Dara?
I'll type it in the chat box.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to the next proposal, the septic tank installation limitation. I think it was Chris that suggested that. Maybe somebody remembers better than I do, but obviously, you know, as far as the Pangea interpretations go, we have septic tank installation or septic tank absorption field interpretations already. I think he's looking for an installation, maybe a state specific.
Rich, I've in the past been talking with Chris about that, and
oh, good.
They have some really crazy things that happen on the Blackland Prairie, that area of Alabama, and so he's putting some guidance, I think, to work with the health department people in a few counties there that have those, you know, those really wild vertisols out in the middle of the coastal plain. You know, those, you know, it's a really different kind of soil environment than the rest of the coastal plain.
I also think that variability is on such a small scale compared to what is surveyed that I'm afraid that someone looking at that might make a decision without considering all variables, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
We might be enabling people to make bad decisions.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So radically different than anything else. You know, if you grew up around, you know, Huntsville, you'd have one impression of soils, and if you grew up around Mobile, you'd have an impression. But those aren't even close to the Blackland Prairie situation.
We have a similar situation in Texas as well with the Blackland Prairies there. You know, it's 15 million acres of straight vertisols, and the septic tank absorption field interpretations, which produce really good separation and variability in the interpretive ratings in other areas, are are pretty limited in the Blackland Prairie region. So I imagine we have something similar to that maybe in Texas as well.
We
I
do
know.
too. We've got a little bit of a slate belt going through South Carolina, and within that we have these expansive black clays that are they're blue. They must have a lot. I don't know enough about them. They're super cool. Blue color that turn tannish brown when exposed to when they're oxidized. So maybe they have copper in them. But just actually, I was in the field 2 weeks ago because I'm working with our South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control and on putting together a new teaching program, training program for their employees for septic siting and design. And we were at this gentleman's farm and he's putting in a septic, and we actually hit one of those soils there, and it was in not where it was supposed to be. And then 20 yards away, it was back to the typical soil of that region. So I just have a lot of, I mean, soils do funny things, as we all know, and I'm just a little nervous when it comes to especially septic systems and something that's more health related on putting that type of interpretation out there.
In terms of the Blackland Prairies in Mississippi, you know, for septic tanks, they're just unsuited. You know, vertisol 60% better clay is just going to be unsuited. And I think in Web Soil Survey, it's probably going to show them unsuited as well already.
That's kind of what I would think too, James, that if it's not suited for a absorption field, then it's probably not suitable for an installation either.
You know, there's two ways to look at this. One way is, well, you know, if I've heard both sides of the argument, that there's people that say, well, if our interpretations show that it's unsuited, you know, people are going to put a septic tank in anyway. But that's where I think specificity on the interpretation can be beneficial. You know, specifying the type of system that you're installing is important. You know, just having a generalized interpretation may not be adequate for an area that would be pretty limited on one style of, you know, system installation versus another. I know.
Go ahead, my bad.
Oh no, go ahead.
Well, I say what they're doing on those sites is they're doing a treating the sewage on site and then spraying it on the ground on a big enough area where you won't create runoff. And so that might be the interpretation you need, is how big of an area, you know, per, you know, household for you know, if it's that might be an interp, you know, because you want to treat the sewage and then do spray irrigation where in a concentration where it won't produce runoff. I think that's the guideline, and at least in Mississippi.
James, you're talking about an aerobic system, basically.
Yeah, well, they're chlorinating it. Yeah, aerobic for the most part.
Yeah, that's what we use here in Texas on a lot of our vertisols. Now,
they got a sand filter and then a chlorinated treatment, and then spray it out. Yes, sir.
There's also a new a system that's kind of a modified traditional or conventional system called an ET system. And I personally had an ET system because I didn't want an aerobic system because it takes maintenance and you got to have somebody come and inspect it. And that works somewhat in a vertisol if you have a large enough field. But I agree with you. I think we just need to tailor the interpretation for the area. So if these Blackland Prairies in Alabama and in other areas like Mississippi if they need, if aerobic systems would be a better system to install in those soils, then we need to create an interpretation specifically for that. So, okay. The next two items I think are related: pocket gopher habitat and longleaf pine soil suitability. Can somebody that knows more about pocket gophers and longleaf than I do tell me, aren't those two sort of related? Don't pocket gophers sort of occur where longleaf and vice versa?
This is Mitchell. So yes, for the most part. Now the pocket gopher habitat, I don't know if that's something I mentioned in talking with you, Richard, but that they have a relationship with the Louisiana pine snake, which is currently, I think it's on the endangered species list, or it's listed as threatened. So the Louisiana pine snake, its main food source is the pocket gopher, and it also uses its habitat, its gopher hole as a habitat. So, and it's definitely, and the pine snake is located in typically in longleaf pine areas. So.
I don't think we have that critter over here. Maybe it's like the maybe it's more of a 133C guy.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
So
I was trying to find a distribution map for the species, and it's just coming up with Western US, so that's not the right thing.
So that one we can probably table then, right? This pocket gopher habitat. That would, I probably just jotted that down in our discussions, Mitch, but it sounds like that's not necessarily a proposal.
And it might be something we can do in Louisiana as far as an design, on our end, something very local if we see the need,
Okay. Okay, so that brings me to this longleaf pine soil suitability. So one of the interpretations that's been developed that Bob has been working on, sort of as a result of a similar, I guess, pathway as this longleaf pine is the shortleaf. And so this longleaf pine soil suitability interpretation is sort of would follow suit with that suite of interpretations. And so that's why I put it in here, because I thought, well, that might fit in really nicely with a suite of interpretations related to restoration efforts. So that was one that came across my desk anyway recently, and so from Mitch, and that, but it has a larger geographic applicability than just Louisiana. So that's why I put it in here, because I thought that might be one that we needed to prioritize.
In Mississippi, one of the primary factors other than soils is your climate, and we need to figure out how you can break the climate, because we will have something like a Smithdale that's a SDGR project that's running from north to south in the state, but frost-free days or something like that, might work. I don't know. And y'all might already have that in Texas, what some sort of climate type thing. We kind of rough it in based on historic range, of longleaf, and do it by county. But it'd be better to try and figure out a climate, I would think, driver.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, James. Yeah, so there's some other considerations there. The Texas interpretive model that was developed is really good and has potential to be used, for a larger area with some modifications. So
There's also the Montaigne variety of longleaf too, Rich. I don't know if whoever made the request was including
How do you spell that?
Montane. Alabama, Georgia, kind of Ridge and Valley area.
Did not know that. So
Yeah.
that's interesting. So that might be a subset. Maybe this interpretation could be, developed and then a subset for this particular variety. Might be a good flow. Okay. Moving on. This one I think probably should be tabled. I proposed this one as well. I just wanted to bring it out there for people to be aware of, really. It was for awareness more than anything else. Unless somebody thinks it should go forward, but I think a lot of this will be a lot of this soil health management will be addressed when this DS hub is up and going. So another one that I brought up, which I think we can table for now, I've already actually recommended that we table it for now, is this documentation querying ability and soil data access. Oftentimes, I'm sure a lot of the state soil scientists on the call, including myself, get requests all the time for what criteria are used in interpretation. What are the rating classes for an interpretation? What are the rating reasons for an interpretation? And it's very often that I go into Web Soil Survey or to NACS and look at the descriptions that are in the rules. And it would be nice to be able to query the documentation metadata for interpretations in soil data access. Anyway, so I think that would be useful. I know we can query pieces of that, but the actual documentation. Does anybody?
One you could bring up to the soil business people. But yeah, that's a good point there, Richard. The data is sitting there in the database.
Yeah.
It's be a matter of finding the join path, maybe even from soil data access. Yeah, it's in Web Soil Survey, so it's got to be a part of the Sergo model. Might just be a matter of a join path to a rule description. That's a good one to put Jason on.
Yeah, that's one that I get a request for all the time, and I know the state soil scientists do, and I haven't figured out a real good way to find that information yet. And then, of course, that also ties in really well in the future with this idea of putting metadata for documentation of interpretation documentation on Web Soil Survey. Is there going to be a way that we can access that by other methods other than?
True. Yeah, I'm not sure any other. Well, we don't have the mechanism we want set up yet, but I'm not sure if it'd be accessible by any kind of a query from places, because it's really meant for public consumption, and most people, and believe it or not, most people don't use SQL. I just can't believe that, but it's true.
They haven't unharnessed, or they haven't unleashed the power of SQL yet, maybe.
Sure.
I use soil data access a lot. I don't know about the rest of you, but it's pretty common in my line of work, I guess. So that one maybe we could bring forward to the business committee. So that'll be another one similar to the seepage research and the microplastics as well. Remind me about that. Moving on to the next topic on our list is these conservation practice standard screening tools, which I personally think are really important. It's a great way for us to communicate soil, proper use of soils to the conservation side. I know Dee is also supportive, and Bob and Kathy have done a lot of work on this, and they're supportive as well. These are the interpretations that have been proposed that I'll probably get this wrong, but that I don't think have had a ton of work done on them yet, other than maybe cover crop in this pipeline. But other than those two, I think the rest of these are proposed. So my proposal to the committee would be just to wrap all these into conservation practice standard screening interpretations and put a priority on that. And if we identify that as a priority, we sort through these interpretations as we get requests or based on a priority that we set and try to develop them as we go. That would be my proposal, because there's a bunch of them. So anybody have any thoughts about conservation practice standard screening tools, interpretations?
Other than being for them?
Yeah, that's it. So I guess we can take a vote on it. Do you agree with wrapping these things up into one and just voting on conservation practice standard screening tools in general?
I'd make that motion.
Okay, yeah, I would too. I think that needs to be a priority, along with urban interps. Christine says she agrees too. So, okay, move forward. Yeah, and then I've got the new interpretations ready for testing, but I don't know that we have a ton. I'd really like to get through. Does anybody on the committee or in the meeting right now, would you like to see what interpretations are available, or can we move on to getting the items that we're gonna ratify for a vote?
At this time, are you taking any new items, new ideas for interpretations to be worked on?
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, so are there any new ideas for interpretations that we haven't covered? That's a good idea.
I do. That's why I brought it up. But I don't know if anybody else does.
Well, speak up, or for now, or forever hold your peace, I guess.
All
what
right.
You got?
So I have 3 things. 2 of them are kind of related. And I was talking about this at the research priorities meeting too. I'm going to talk pretty quickly to get through that because we have 25 minutes left, just so you know the meeting can go further. It's not like it's going to shut off on us at 12 anyway. So the first one is looking for the potential for development of soil water repellency, and this would be primarily on the presence of texture. I have a grad student right now working on this just for South Carolina, looking at surface soil textures and the potential for development of soil water repellency. Also, somewhat along the same lines, because it tends to be worse under spotosol or on the surfaces of spotosols, and that's primarily due to the native plant community, which are pine flatwoods. Spotosols have certain issues associated with them, like aluminum toxicity, very low pHs, all that are influencing growths of crops that are detrimental. So I don't know if that was something that was already part of the interpretations, or if we want to put as a potential interp. And the last one.
Can you state that again, Dara?
Sure. So soil water repellency was the first one, and to me that would be primarily based off of soil texture on the surface, and then so the second one was talking about spodosols and the types of issues for growing any crops or any vegetation on them besides what is native, because of the tendency to have aluminum toxicity and or aluminum concentrations that are in available forms that are toxic to plants, as well as low pHs.
Sounds like a good candidate for biochar.
Oh gosh, here we go again with the biochar.
I had to throw it out there.
I know
I'm
you
sorry.
did. It's all good. The last one is a little bit different than what we've talked about. And this is something that I've been kind of watching and saying, gosh, I really wish I had time to work on this, but don't. Are any of you familiar with chronic wasting disease?
Chronic wasting, yes. We've been talking about this for a while now.
Okay. Oh, good. So good. I'm not, okay, excellent. Well, I'm going to bring it back to the table then, because there is research that has been completed and published associating different types of mineralogy with holding on to the prion more than others. So certain soils hold on to it more than others. I think this is a very much, I would like to say emerging, but I think it's emerged, but has not been taken seriously enough. I think some very simple models based on soil texture and mineralogy might be able to show the potential for harboring chronic wasting disease or the prion that causes it. There's a lot of, there's nothing that shows that it's causing problems in people right now, but there are some associations that scientists think that it could potentially be an issue in humans for rapid onset Alzheimer's disease. And the only way you can test for that is after you're dead. So I've actually been talking off and on with a doctor here at the Greenville Health System about this. He's seeing more cases in our state than ever. Even though South Carolina supposedly doesn't have any chronic wasting disease, which I think is probably just because we haven't found that deer yet that has it. But because everybody else around us, every other state around us does. So I think this is something that we need to look at and consider. To me, also, the fact that it's being held in clays more strongly and active, that prion staying active in clays, could be another reason why our farmers should reduce their tillage, right? So because they're bringing up that clay to the surface, and then the animal dies or defecates, and it's being held there. The prion's being held there. So maybe like just potential for chronic wasting disease, harboring CWD or something like that. So people are aware of it.
And that's a really good point. I've worked with people, this is Dovis out here again, that have been looking at prion diseases like this. And, I think a lot of times our epidemiologists, not trying to be mean to Christine or anything, because she does have a good concept of how soils and things interact. But, people, soils are the same all over the place. And they don't realize that there are places where the soil can be different enough to harbor a pathogen or not harbor a pathogen, depending. So I'm assuming that you're looking at maybe montmorillonitic or more active clays as being a substrate that will preserve the prions. Is that what they found in your part of the world?
Yeah, so it wasn't done in my part of the world. It was just kind of a literature review that I had done previously.
Oh, okay.
And where they went ahead and I guess inoculated it. I don't know if that's the correct term for a prion, but different. They did a Montmorillonite, they did more of a kalinitic, and then they did a sand.
Yeah.
And you know, you're right. The epidemiologists don't understand. I don't think they know about cation exchange capacity. But to me, it seems like there seems to be some type of relationship there based on the results.
Yes, yeah, I agree. You know, I did a bunch of, it's probably been a couple of years ago now. I probably still have the paper sitting on my desk because I don't clean up very often. But anyway, yeah, the prions are nasty little things because they're not living, so you can't kill them. All you can do is denature them.
In this one, it seems like almost impossible to denature. And that's the problem with it. Why there's very few doing research on it, because once you infect a piece of equipment, a tool, it's infected and you can't clean it.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a nasty bug.
Nasty things.
Yeah, extremely nasty. It's almost like, you know, should be considered national safety. To me, that's what I think of. Like, if this got in the hands of the wrong person, who knows what could happen.
Wow.
Kind of like
Department of Homeland Security stuff.
Urticaria and valley fever, coccidioides. Huh? Anyways, yeah, so Pennsylvania is a big hot spot for chronic wasting. And there were actually billboards along US 30 through Bedford County, Pennsylvania saying, you know, warning people about chronic wasting. There are a lot of deer hunters there too. It all started out with somebody that had a deer herd, managed deer herd in, I think it was Colorado. And
It was the university.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But somehow they started shooting those deers and taking them to other places. And they throw the carcass out in Pennsylvania someplace. And so that, you know, kind of an anthropomorphic or anthropogenic spread of the pathogen like that. You know, pretty well unintentional, but that doesn't matter anymore.
Sorry, I'm working on this poll while you guys are discussing. So sorry, I'm multitasking. Yeah, Dara, those are great ideas. Is that all you had?
Yes, thank you.
Does anybody else have new proposals, new interpretation proposals for the committee to consider, or for this group to consider for that matter?
Hello, everyone. This is Randy. I do have two things I could bring up about urban, and I signed on kind of at the tail end of when Anil was speaking, so this may have been touched on, but been kind of thinking about an idea about when we talk about contaminants and how we can provide interpretations. Maybe there's other ways we can capture that information with our existing data. So I was thinking about some sort of hazard or potential for mobilization of lead or other type of contaminants. And that could be based on soil properties such as pH, organic matter content, texture, things like CEC, things that would impact or influence the mobilization of those elements. So it would be like a hazard or potential for.
Soil immobilization potential, Randy?
Well, you could spin it either direction if you want it to be positive or negative. But yeah, it would be like hazard for mobilization of lead or whatever element you could target.
Just
oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll let you finish, Rudy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And there's a variety of ways to kind of tackle that and targeting specific hazardous elements. Obviously, you wouldn't want to lump arsenic and lead together in the same interp because they behave very differently.
Cool.
But this could get us, away from directly stating, this is a soil with high lead. We're stating properties and their behavior.
I like that approach. Yeah, I like that.
The other thing would be since the major pathway for like lead is ingestion and inhalation of dust. So there could be some sort of interp about susceptibility of dust in high traffic areas or, urban recreational areas, roadways and things like that. So I guess these would be like hazard type ratings.
I'm trying to think of how to word that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put these down here in the new. Oh, I gotta figure out where I'm at here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And there's actually some good papers about this, like redistribution of like lead in soil from wind erosion, from dust. I forget. He's in Duke. Does anybody remember the professor's name at Duke?
Richard, Rick, wait. I know him.
Richter.
Yes.
Richter,
Yes,
Dan,
Richter.
Dan Richter.
Yeah, Dan Richter.
Yeah,
Right.
Dan Richter has some good research about this, and also Dr. Melky at Tulane. He's got data over time measuring like a decline in lead in surface horizons from this dust. Basically, it's just a redistribution, and also like the lead levels in kids' blood is actually declining over time in areas that were heavily contaminated, however long ago. So things are improving actually because of wind erosion. They're obviously accumulating somewhere else.
Sorry, I have to go back. I must have. Oh man, I must have removed. Oh my goodness, wow. Must have removed the chronic wasting at some point. I don't know how, but there it is. There it is. I knew it was in there somewhere. Sorry about that. Okay, let me go back to here. Sorry, I know I'm bouncing around a lot for everybody, but I'm trying to capture everything I can.
Your work is impressive, Richard.
Soil.
All the stuff that you've done.
Well, it's trying to organize all this stuff is the hard part. Okay, Randy, does that kind of capture what you were trying to say or not?
I think well enough to kind of start some dialogue about it.
I think I do think that urban interpretations will probably get a pretty heavy yes vote, I would assume, as they have in some of the other committees, the urban topics. So I think it'll be kind of like the conservation practice standard screening tools where they get a pretty heavy vote, and as we get time, we prioritize urban interpretations, so to speak.
Sounds like you're trying to persuade the committee.
I'm not trying to persuade the committee. I'm just,
I had
maybe.
to say it.
So I do have one more thing to add about this. And we had the Urban Soils Field Week a couple weeks ago, I think maybe 3 weeks ago in Denver. And I was speaking with the state soil scientists in Colorado about some of the issues about urban land complexes and how, even though people use our surveys in urban areas to look for soils information, but what do we give them? We give them urban land miscellaneous areas because that's the dominant component.
Right.
So we need to maybe reconsider how we're treating urban land as a miscellaneous area. Maybe that one in particular needs to have some sort of exclusion where it's overlooked to get to the dominant mineral soil. If it's in an urban land soil complex. If it's just straight urban land, kind of a different situation because you're talking about a highly impervious, greater than 90% covered situation. But Yeah, people are using these things to get soils information. I mean, they don't want to know that it's paved.
That's a
Anyway,
great idea, Randy.
Anyway, we
know-
can make it easier to extract, 'cause that's probably the #1 complaint I get from working with nonprofits and other people.
When we
That
did,
is-
when we did the Chicago survey, that was something that we were talking about, like if we had a urban land complex, how do we get NASA's to overlook that? And at the time, it just said like, it's just, that's the way, it depends on the percentages and dominant component. If it's dominant, then there's no way around it. And that was kind of it's interesting that, I'm glad you brought that up, Randy, because it's definitely something that we wanted to get NASA's to just like overlook that and get interps for the soils that were a part of it. And those
Olga
complex.
Vargas in New York has a script in SDA, an SQL script that does that, but for the average user, that's way over their head, or would even be able to approach doing something like that.
Can you send me that?
Yeah, I think I have a copy. It's actually, it might be on the Focus Team website, or I can get Olga to send you a copy.
That's awesome. That's the best solution to that problem. This issue has been a reoccurring issue for as long as I've been a soil scientist, or longer, or as long as NASA's has been around. And that's probably the best solution, simple solution to that problem, other than populating urban land components more efficiently, or
Yeah,
I don't know if
it's
that's-
problematic because you can't really move it out because it's a component, and just the way our data is structured, we're kind of stuck with that framework.
Yeah, right.
So I mean, it's not like we can have like an impervious factor or anything because there's nowhere to put it. You know, you would have to do that, assign it by component, and that doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Well, Randy, you can get 100% runoff. What are you talking about? You can get at least one
Yeah.
interp.
It's true. But
Yeah,
you know, like some people were populating HSG Group D, but then you get into this whole conversation about should you even be doing that, because that's a soil interp, you know, and it's a miscellaneous area.
I'm just gonna pop in and just say it's 11:54, and
I know.
I this is all such a great conversation, but you might want to poll the group and see who needs to leave at noon, because you definitely want to be able to get your votes in.
Yeah, I agree. I've been eyeing the clock for the last 20 minutes thinking, boy, Christine, am I glad that we requested 2 hours for the interpretations committee, because I just had a feeling it was going to take all 2 hours.
It's always that way. This is a hot committee, Richard. You know that.
I guess so. It's on fire.
Hot
As we
topic.
discussed yesterday, you have a good intuition, so here you are.
And we still haven't even talked about chairs and co-chairs yet. Golly.
This is all about application, right? I mean, so this is the practicality of it. This is so important. So I'm not surprised you have such a great group here. So
Yeah,
important.
It's just the pointy end of the spear.
The pointy end. Yeah, the sharp one. The one that hurts.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to head out. I gotta collect my children at the library. I'm assuming they're doing okay. But they're on the other end. I'm assuming they're on a computer, but who knows?
There's no fires. Okay, so I'm gonna
no
go through
fires.
this. I'm gonna go through this survey real quick. If you see an item on here that you think needs to be taken off or removed, let me know, and I'll try to get this sent out into the chat in this meeting as quickly as humanly possible. So I'm just gonna scroll down real quick. So allowing urban land components to have interpretive ratings. Urban land components should be overlooked in aggregation methods to grab the dominant mineral component. Does that sound okay?
Yes.
To put up for a vote? I think it does. Add artifact table to fragment table data when populated. Is there something I need to add there to make it more clear?
It's all right. I know what needs to be done.
Okay, sounds good. Urban, identifying substrates to update liquefaction. This is for urban components.
Yeah.
Concise enough. New coastal zone soil survey interpretation. So this would just include the entire suite of interpretations. So it would just be voting on a priority for that. This hydrologic soil group on-site tool, do we want to table that, Bob?
That's above our pay grade.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna remove that from this poll. NCCPI cotton submodel update. And put that one up for a vote for prioritization. That was a previous charge. Okay. Interpretation documentation update and linked and web soil survey. This is currently being worked on. So do we need to put it up for a vote?
Nope.
Nope. Gotcha. NCCPI location and description and web soil survey. That was one that had been tabled previously. Do we want to put it up for a vote this time or table it again?
That one was pretty simple a couple years ago. I mean, I think Kathy said it was simple to update the location, but I don't think it ever happened.
Okay. So we'll just leave it in here then and let people vote. That had to do with putting NCCPI, the location and web soil survey in a different place. It wasn't intuitive where it was at, I think, is what that was all about.
Correct.
The regional commodity crop productivity index, I think this is currently being worked on. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so we can remove that. Suitability for land leveling for soil suitability for land leveling, and we'll take the rice production out, and we'll take Arkansas out. Okay. Longleaf pine soil suitability for the southeast region. Is that something y'all think we should leave in here or take out? I guess I'll leave it in there for now. We can vote on it. This would be applicable mainly to the forestry interpretation. So basically, if they vote for that, they're voting for forestry, essentially. I mean, I could rename it, I guess. Chronic wasting, disease, soil potential for soil water repellency. Those two I just added as a result of our conversation. Do we want to add, what was the other one, Dara?
Oh, it was interps for spodosols.
Yeah, is that
for plant health and growth?
Is that one that we can table for now and take a vote on maybe next time? Or
any of the ones I suggested, that is up to you guys. You guys would know what's more important than me. But yeah,
I think
that's
the
fine.
chronic wasting disease would be a good one.
okay,
sure.
yeah, I think so too. That
And
one I've heard that requested from a lot of other states. So
I know Robert and I are going to work on a technical note about the spodosol issue.
okay. So that's all I have in here. Is there anything else that this group thinks I should add in this poll so that we can take a quick vote, or does this capture the majority of what we talked about? I think it does. Anna, do you know how do I share this poll right here with this group?
Yes, so click send and see what it tells you. Yeah, you can, yep, the link shorten and copy. And just put it in the chat.
Okay. There it is. If everybody can take a vote, I would be largely appreciative. And we'll try to assemble this for the business meeting. There are a lot of items that we had that I guess we'll take forward to other committees, which is good too. And I know people are going to start signing off and have to leave, but actually I do too. I have another meeting, but I do greatly appreciate everybody's participation in this committee meeting. There's no way we could have these without everybody on this call, and so I really appreciate it. Anna, is there anything you wanted to, I guess, cover before we hang up?
I guess our only meeting, only business that's left is nominations, and maybe this can be done by, I don't know, maybe you can email the chairs, co-chairs, or which the nominations, and then we can like create another poll like this and then make people vote. Or how is the vote? I don't know, how is the nomination vote? Do someone needs to vote, or?
No, I believe we do that. We talk about that at the business meeting. We take a look at the nominations for chairs and co-chairs.
We do need nominations though.
Right.
So if anybody on the call has nominations for the future chair or co-chair, then please.
And co-chairs are cooperators, right?
Typically, I think. Yeah. I mean, you can speak up or email us, one or the other. But we do need. I'd like to get some nominations if we can. So if you have any ideas of a person that you think would be really good, or if you want to volunteer, Rebecca, you want to volunteer?
I would volunteer.
Christine, you want to volunteer?
Sure. This is for 2024, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is it possible to be in two committees? I know I'll be in the steering committee.
Well, I'm on the steering committee too, so.
Okay. I mean, I'd volunteer myself.
Okay.
I think it's interesting. I enjoy it. Yeah, thanks, Roy.
Co-chairs are.
I just wanted to make sure. As far as co-chairs, I don't know. I'll nominate Dara.
Thank you, Roy. I appreciate it.
I appreciate that, but I'd rather work on some of these other things that I said I would do, like
no,
with
I'm
Roy.
I'm teasing.
So if there's a university cooperator that you think would be a really good Anna's laughing.
Okay, I mean, I just met Anna, but as a fellow professor who has full, and she is an assistant professor, I am going to protect her. Okay, I mean, she can do what she wants. I mean, this is her thing. I know she's probably pretty excited about it, but I am going to look at her and straight in the eyes right now and tell her that you need to protect your time because you know it's important to get tenure. That's me. I'll just be quiet.
Yeah, that's funny.
I know how important it is to help our stakeholders too. I'm just saying that I don't want her to go crazy.
I can
Roy,
also.
I saw your note in the chat, Roy, about federal partner as cooperator as well. So yeah, that's a consideration. Thank
Is
you.
there anybody like ARS?
Yeah, ARS, Forest Service, federal partner. I wonder, could it be a like a Department of Health and Environmental Services or something like that, like a state regulator or something, or does it have to be federal?
Getting public health involved would be really cool.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, so the votes are coming in really good. Thank you for everybody for voting.
Christine, who is our state epidemiologist? I can't remember her name, but she seemed pretty interested in all this when I
Was she
talked to
on
her.
the news all the time down here?
I don't remember.
I'd have to look. I don't know the name off the top of my head, but having an epidemiologist, you know, another perspective would be cool.
But I also don't know if that would be the right person for another
Yeah.
co-chair. She just might be good to have on the committee.
Right.
I am, oh, go ahead, Anna, sorry.
Can it be someone from like CDC? Or it has to be from, I don't know, from particular agencies?
Yeah, we may want to think about that some more, you know, somebody that would be.
What about, okay, so Debbie Sarabian does those soil shop events in conjunction with NRCS, and they do like screening for urban gardeners. She might know somebody, or maybe we can look on that soil shop under, and it's under the CDC.
Check out this person. Like I put her name into the chat right now. I recently met her at another conference last week. So she has her PhD in urban garden contamination, and she did the surveys of Atlanta gardeners on testing soil. And she's in, you know, you can see her credentials. So, and she's a cool person, looks like. So maybe consider her to invite.
Yeah, I mean, if we don't have to have names, but maybe, you know, for like co-chairs or whatever, we can just throw, you know, these are the ideas that we had, and we'll have to, I mean, we have time to make a decision, right? I mean, on that, I think.
Well, we probably need to have some nominations by the business meeting, I would imagine.
Well, I'll get some names when I get back home. And
I'll send it out. I'll send it out to the committee as well and let them hash out, you know, who they think might be a good, you know, good person to nominate as well.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna collect my children to make sure like things aren't being burned down or whatever. And
sounds good.
Head back and log in. I finished the poll, and it was a great meeting. Thanks, Richard.
Yeah, thanks for attending and providing input. Appreciate it.
And it was nice to see you, Anna.
Nice to see you too, at least virtually. We're very close. We're just an hour away.
I know. We'll be in touch.
Yes, for sure.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. And we have a couple of people who still need to submit responses, right?
Yeah, so Anna, I guess we'll have to send this this poll out to the committee members, and like you said yesterday, you know, anybody that hasn't filled it out probably can go ahead and just vote on this stuff real quick, and then hopefully by tomorrow morning I'll have all this put together, and we can because it sounds like you're going to be busy.
Yeah, tomorrow is incredibly busy day. I have what to do, but we'll make it work.
So yeah, I guess that's a wrap, right?
Okay, so we're not going through these responses right now.
No, I don't
I'm
think so.
understanding. Okay. Yeah, I think we just have to the nominations potential people for tomorrow. Thanks everyone for attending. This was an awesome meeting. I learned a lot. Thank you. And I'll see some of you, I'm sure, tomorrow. I'm going to stop the video unless there's anything else, Richard.
That's it. Thank you so much, Dara.
Absolutely. Thanks for doing an awesome job. You nailed it. I mean, you multitasked it.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But anyway, thank you for your support.